A very big shout out to eSpace Productions who very kindly provided the thumbnail for this video. You can check out his DeviantArt portfolio in the description. Hello, it's Lord Slaw here, coming back at you with another video, and the topic of today's is the Dalek invasion of Earth versus the Chase. So this is a series I want to do quite a while, and I'm pretty sure I had the idea back at the advent of this channel. However, I really haven't got around to doing it, to be perfectly honest, and I think it could be quite fun to pit two episodes together, compare them all sorts of, the elements that make the episode, and see which one's better. Usually related stories. These ones are kind of related by the fact that they're two Dalek stories in Season 2 that are generally considered the weakest of the 60s Dalek stories. Maybe not Dalek Invasion of Earth. It's starting to go that way, as I think less people are liking it now than they used to, but The Chase is certainly considered one of the weaker ones of the 60s. And in my opinion, the 60s Dalek stories are the best range of Dalek stories of all time. I mean, not so much these two, but especially like the Daleks, Power of the Daleks, Master Plan, Evil of the Daleks. They're brilliant. Oh, and did I say Master Plan? I'm not sure, but Master Plan's very good as well if I didn't say that. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it.
So the first category is plot. The Daleks Invasion of Earth has a fairly functional plot, if it's a bit of a preposterous and silly one. Like, it's never really explained why the Daleks need to pilot a planet round space, and it's never said why it's worth all the resources and Dalek lives they're pooling into taking this planet. It just seems a little stupid to me, and I'd be fine with it if they explained it, even though it was a crap explanation. I want that explanation. And even if I put that aside, it's a very poorly structured plot, and the fact that that plot point, which is the whole thing which you need to resolve, only really comes into play in the last two episodes, and things just aren't very well structured in general in this story. And yeah, it isn't a great plot, but it works for what it is, I suppose. The Chase, however, has a completely different problem in the fact that it's very, very basic, and I mean ridiculously basic. All it is the Daleks are chasing the Doctor and the TARDIS crew. That's it. They just go from one place, the Daleks come, then they go to another place. And to be fair, it works. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. It could be structured a little better, but still, it's really simple, very basic, which does kind of knock a few marks off it, but I'd say for what it is, it just about gets away with it, because it was never made to be a particularly complicated episode, and there's not really much more to say about it. So overall, I'm going to say it was a draw. I know I was a lot more negative about the Daleks Invasion of Earth, but it's just the Chase's plot is so basic, like so very, very basic. I think it'd be completely unfair to give it to that over Dalek Invasion of Earth, so it's a tie. So the next category is characters. So the Daleks Invasion of Earth has some fairly good characters, even if I don't think the main cast are used all that well. Hartnell doesn't have too much good to work with, and he's out of it for quite a lot of it, like quite a few stories. Although, unlike in other stories where Hartnell's out of it, the other members of the main cast don't really step in. There's just not a whole lot of things going on with the main cast, really. I do like Hartnell's goodbye speech, though, that works. Ian and Barbara do have a few good moments, but overall, they've been used better in some other episodes. And Susan, more or less, the entire episode is just setting up her goodbye and her relationship with David, even though I do not buy that relationship at all. I don't really like David, and I just don't see what attracts them together, especially somebody like Susan. It just doesn't click for me. It was a very good goodbye speech, though. I know I've already said that, but I think you should emphasise that. So if you like those two characters, you would have thought it was a good goodbye scene, so that's fair enough if you do. However, side characters is where Daleks Invasion of Earth doesn't necessarily excel, but it at least shows potential, and they are quite interesting. They all could have been developed a bit better, but, characters like Dortmund and Jenny, I think are quite good. I think it's Jenny. I can't remember. But still, they're two very good characters. David is a bit crap, though. And yeah, most of the characters pretty good, pretty enjoyable, especially Dortmund and Jenny. They're quite intricate, and yeah, and that's all there is to say about characters on Daleks Invasion of Earth. The Chase is more or less the exact opposite of the Daleks Invasion of Earth, as in the main cast are used really, really well, but there's more or less no other characters in the entire story. Ian and Barbara are used pretty well, very enjoyable, and so is Vicky. They have a great relationship with each other, they all get lots of good scenes, and the First Doctor does as well, and their goodbye scene is great, because just Hartnell's reaction to them wanting to leave is just shouting at them, and it's so Hartnell. Like, it's it's not like what you'd expect, but it's exactly what his doctor's personality is like. And I love how it's Vicky who goes and kind of soos him around the edges and says, "Oh, go on, let them go home." It fits all their characters very well, that goodbye scene, and I think it's a much better scene than the one in the Daleks' Invasion of Earth. As for side characters, well, there isn't a whole lot of them. The Iridians, they're not memorable at all. I don't even remember any of their names. They're just crap. I did quite like the hillbilly on the Empire State Building, played by Peter Purves. He was pretty funny. Obviously, Stephen's a great character, but he's kind of only in it for a bit in this story, and, technically he is the main cast, because he comes back in the very next episode to become a companion who stays on until the end of season 3. But, oh well, that's about it for characters for The Chase. Overall, I think I should say that the Daleks Invasion of Earth has better characters. Sure, the main cast aren't used all that well, but it's not terrible, and unlike The Chase, it actually has many side characters which are interesting. Basically, The Chase just revolves around the TARDIS crew running away from the Daleks and finding a good place to fight them. So naturally, the Daleks Invasion of Earth is going to have much better characters, making friends with all the revolutionaries and all that. So yeah, Daleks Invasion of Earth wins this round. So now we're on to villains. So the Daleks have a very mixed portrayal in the Daleks Invasion of Earth. When they're not seen, they do seem pretty terrifying and very brutal in just all of the propaganda speeches you hear and what people say about them. And the Robomen are pretty creepy too, and The Chase has absolutely no equivalent to the Robomen. However, when they're actually on screen, the Daleks aren't all that good, and that's mainly down to the category I'm going to talk about in a bit, direction. The direction completely ruins the Daleks when they're on screen in this story. Just, they don't seem threatening at all to me, just because the direction kills all the tension in the scene, but we'll get onto that in the next bit. But yeah, when they're being talked about, the Daleks are very good, but mainly due to fairly lazy writing during the action scenes, but mainly how appalling the direction is. It works sometimes, but most of the time, especially when they're on screen, it doesn't work. And sometimes they just look really silly. Like when they're going round, doing circles around the Supreme Dalek. That's just silly. The Chase, however, is quite notable on how it uses the Daleks very comedically, which, it has been done since, but not to the extent that it was here. I mean, they're 100% used for laughs, and you've got them falling off the Mary Celeste and being scared of creatures in the haunted house. And to be fair, sometimes it can be funny. However, I think it doesn't really work very well. The Daleks are something which aren't really meant to be done comedically inside the show. It's fair enough outside the show. You can make lots of funny jokes and, dead ringers about the Daleks or other programs which may contain the Daleks, like, comedy shows. However, in Doctor Who, I think it's kind of diminishing the value of the Daleks as a villain, just pointing and laughing at them. And that's why I think maybe it doesn't quite work for me. But it is funny, but I just think it doesn't quite work. Overall, I think we're going to have to give it the Daleks Invasion of Earth. Even though there is a lot of weak points about how the Daleks are portrayed in that story, they can be quite brutal and they can be quite effective, at least when they're not on screen. And if the direction was like a million times better, maybe it would be fully good, a fully good portrayal. Whereas The Chase is just a bit too silly. It could have been done worse. There's definitely been comedic Dalek moments which have been done worse, but it's still not that good. So the next category is direction, and this is the part which really kills the Daleks Invasion of Earth for me. I mean, it's so very bad. I mean, sometimes it's passable, but the camera really does not know where to go. And in scenes which are meant to be tense or have action in, it's difficult to see what's going on sometimes, but even when it is easy to see what's going on, there's no tension. The Daleks aren't made to look threatening or imposing, and just all the time it kills the mood in the story completely. Like, there's scenes which would, if they were directed well, have been really, really good and really, really dark, but it's just, they look so shit with the way they're directed, the way the actors move around, the way the camera is, that it just doesn't work. And I suppose we'll lump in score with direction, considering, the score has to be put in by, I think it's by the director, but yeah, they more or less choose where it's put in, and the score is used so appallingly in this story. I mean, it's not that good anyway, but there's no tension at all, there's no atmosphere, it's completely killed by the direction of this story, in my opinion. and I absolutely despise it and would probably say this is the worst direction in Doctor Who. So now we're on to The Chase. The Chase is a story which is often criticised for its direction, and it does have its faults, but I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as the Daleks Invasion of Earth. The only points where I picked up where it wasn't too good was mainly at the final battle scene between the Mechanoids and the Daleks. That's shot really bad, and you can't really tell what's going on, and it's a scene which would have been really great if, it actually looked like something was happening rather than just constantly focusing in on the same shot of the Daleks and Mechanoids firing. Have them actually properly going towards each other and start firing at each other and seeing some of them destroyed. That would have been a lot cooler. But instead, we just get some random tin shots of them. Some people complain about the scene where there's two doctors, the robot doctor and the normal doctor having a fight. Personally, I thought this was directed okay. Nothing special, but I got what was going on. And some people say, oh, well, it's difficult to tell which one's which. That's the point, The whole point is you can't tell which one's which. That's why it's good as a plot device. Aside from that, there's actually quite a few good moments of direction. I like how the Vortex is shot. It looks really good for its day. The Mary Celeste has some very good moments, and generally, there's nothing too bad about it, and it is successful in building up atmosphere in places where it's needed, like at the beginning on Iridius when they're just climbing around the sands, or especially when they're on Mechanus climbing around in the swamps. So it's not amazingly directed story, but it's pretty good, and certainly a hell of a lot better than the Daleks Invasion of Earth. Overall, The Chase wins this segment hands down, because Daleks Invasion of Earth's direction is so poor it completely kills it, and kills the atmosphere, kills the pacing, kills the tension, whereas The Chase, well, it's not the best directed story ever. It works, it's functional, and it does keep tension, it does keep pace, and it does just generally work. So now on to pacing. The Daleks Invasion of Earth really struggles with pacing. The first episode's done quite well. It's a very nice build-up to the reveal of the Daleks. However, after that, it's a complete and utter slog. It doesn't really know where it's going, and it gets there very slowly. It doesn't have a whole lot of story to tell. It just really, really doesn't work in my opinion, and it's just a really boring episode to watch, especially with just the hodgepodge way just things happen, how unnecessarily slow it is, because it's not really build up, it's just random scenes. And yeah, this story is paced very, very badly, and along with the direction, it helps kill it. The Chase, however, is paced pretty well. Not perfectly, but pretty well. Aside from when they're on Iridius, I don't feel like they stay in any one place too long. The plot's always moving along, and it's generally lots of fun to watch. However, it kind of benefits from the fact that they're constantly moving from one place to another, which means it has a significant advantage over Daleks Invasion of Earth in this regard, but still, it's better. It's pretty irrefutable to deny, because the Daleks Invasion of Earth is just paced really sloppily, and it's an absolute slog. Whereas this, it's a lot of fun, you don't get bored, even if it is just benefiting from the different structure. It's still a point that it is better. Overall, again, I think The Chase has a clear victory here, even though it does benefit from the style of episode, which, it's much harder to pace something when it's set in the same place. Although the Daleks Invasion of Earth does move from location to location a lot, it's not as drastic as in The Chase. But it's still paced very badly, and many other Doctor Who episodes have proved that just because you're a six-parter set in one place doesn't mean you have to be boring. Because most six-parters, in my opinion, are not like that. But this is, and it's pretty bad. But The Chase, done well, so it wins. So now we're on the fun factor. How much fun do I have watching this story? Well, the Daleks Invasion of Earth, despite having quite a few good moments, and the first episode being really good, for the most part, again, it's a slog. It's not very enjoyable, personally. I just find it drags far too much, and there's just nothing which really gets me interested, apart from the occasional moment, which is done pretty well. But for the most part, I'd say, in terms of fun factor, it's pretty darn awful. Despite being objectively crap, if there's one thing that Chase has, it's being an absolute whale of a time. I mean, seriously, there is so many fun scenes and funny moments. I could be here for the next hour talking about all of them. It's a very funny episode. It's a very fun episode. It's, interesting to look at all of the diverse range of locations. There's not really many moments where you get bored, and it's just generally excellent in terms of how fun it is. And, that's what it was made as in that episode. I mean, sure, it was a bit lazy on Terry Nation's part, but he knew he was writing a fun episode, and that's what he wrote. He wasn't writing a serious or, in-depth episode. It was meant to be this kind of fun story, and it completely succeeds on that front. Again, The Chase completely thrashes the Daleks' Invasion of Earth in this regard. It's absolutely no contest. There's most of the time when I'm watching Daleks' Invasion of Earth, I am getting bored out my mind, whereas when I'm watching The Chase, I'm having so much fun. I'm having a great time. And so it's a pretty obvious win for The Chase. Overall, I think The Chase is the clear winner of this battle. I mean, sure, the Daleks Invasion of Earth had 2 points to its name, whereas The Chase only had 1 more at 3. However, you'll notice that on The Chase's victories, most of them were pretty significantly better than the Daleks Invasion of Earth, whereas it was very close on the 2 that the Daleks Invasion of Earth won, and there was even a tie. And personally, I like The Chase a million times more than Daleks Invasion of Earth. I do not think it's very good, and I think it's a very, very overrated story. That's kind of why I made this video. Because generally, the Daleks Invasion of Earth said, oh yeah, it's a great episode, it's, got a really emotional goodbye, whereas, The Chase has said, oh, it's a bit crap despite the good goodbye scene, and, don't bother watching that. Whereas I think it's the opposite way around. The Chase is great, even if it's objectively crap. Daleks Invasion of Earth is just crap and not very enjoyable, but it does have a good goodbye scene, so I'll give it that. But overall, The Chase clearly wins this for me, and, well, tell me your opinions in the comments. I'd be very interested to see them, and I'll see you back next time in the video. If you like this kind of video, tell me, because I would really like to do more, as this has been a lot of fun making. Goodbye.